Well, here we are with Sister Joan Moran, who, with Sister Luz Maria Castellazo, was one of the writers of our current constitutions. So, Joan, thank you for having us with you this afternoon. And we'd like to ask you, what does it mean, 25 years later, to have been one of the writers of the constitutions?
For me, having been one of the writers of the constitutions, the more I reflect on it, it was one of the greatest gifts of my life, and as I reflect on it, it still is a great gift. Having been able to spend that much time with such intensity with Sister Luz Maria Castellazo. Too many people with the same first names in Mexico, but Sister Luz Maria was and still is in heaven a great woman, and greatly influenced me, and her influence stays with me. And I can read the constitutions and understand her influence, and hopefully that influence didn't just stay with me, but it influenced the whole constitutions and the work is influencing others, because one of the things that I learned about constitutions during that time was that constitutions are a living document, and their words are not just from the past, but they should be the things that inspire us, and they are to be lived out. They are a goal to be reached. It's not something we're supposed to have been born with, or that we reach a perfection of at the time we make vows, but there's something to be lived out and we strive to attain, that we're never going to be with all of the perfection of having reached the goals of we've fulfilled everything that's possible about the vows or any of the virtues that we're told to attain, that there is no final fulfillment of what we're asked to do in the constitutions. That there is not a letter of the law, but it's a goal to be reached, and we probably might not quite have made it when we come to death, but that we're still going to be looking forward to meeting it when we meet our Creator.
Thank you, Joan. Another question, Joan. How do we nowadays, and given all of the challenges the congregation faces, how do we turn the constitutions into a living document?
I think the way we were always, I think way back when the time I entered within the bishop, we were always told we should read the constitutions and reflect on them and ask ourselves, what are we being called to, and what are we being asked to do? And I think reading the constitutions, and not just in terms of what is the letter of the law, but what am I being asked to do? What am I being called to do? And to try to get deeper into what does it mean to do this, to practice this. And I think sometimes we may confuse an article of the constitutions with some of the things that may be written in the directory, which are more the letter of the law kinds of things, the little things that tell us how to do certain things. Like I can think of more when I was a postulant or a novice, or when I told you the directions on what time you had to be up for morning prayer or something like that, which is a letter of the law kind of thing, but it's not part of the vows. It's not part of the actual living out of something. It's a directive, and so it's like in the directory. But the vows and the constitutions call us to something that we are striving to attain, and so that's what the constitutions do. They're not, unless they're in the kind of the things like, this is the terms of office for the members of the General Eight, the terms, you know, the times that you must, well, I'm kind of thinking some of those things have been eliminated, you know, when the times you had to say Vespers at certain times and things like that, were probably in much earlier constitutions. But I think now the times are because of the differences and changes in ministries and things like that, where you don't have to always be there at 6 o'clock or something like that. So it's more that you are not so much, again, letter of the law kinds of things, but how are you trying to live out the spirit of the law, and the how are you trying to attain the love of God and the love of your neighbor and all of those around us, so that we can really be in touch with what God is asking of us in this particular vocation.
The constitutions, the 1985 constitutions, are probably the very first truly bilingual and bicultural document our congregation ever produced. We have a lot to learn about what that means to us today, especially as we're moving toward a new model of governance. How do you come about a truly bilingual and bicultural document? What needs to happen?
Well, first of all, when we began the process, Sister Luz Maria and I, we had great committees who spent a lot of time. They were bicultural committees. They spent a lot of time discussing what needed to be in the document and how it should be written, and discuss it with both ways, with people from both countries. And then when we got down to the actual writing, Sister and I spent lots and lots of time talking about words and what they meant and what did we want this Constitution to say. And we talked about what the words were to mean. And we spent more time discussing words and what we wanted the meaning of the word to be. And we agreed that we were not going to use a word that meant the same thing in both languages, you know, that it could be translated the same in both languages, but that we wanted the words that had the same meaning in both languages, even if the words were very different. And that is what we did. And so we talked and talked until we knew what meaning we wanted, and then we used the words that meant that, so that our words might be very different, but that the words had the same meaning, so that they did not may not have looked the same, but they meant the same. And so I think we did, from what I've heard, we did achieve that meaning. And so it might not look alike, but they meant the same thing.